Hey, good evening. Welcome to another edition of ATL Prime Sports. I'm JJ Jurjevich filling in for Todd Corder. Got Wayne behind the boards in Memphis, Tennessee. Welcome to ATL Prime Sports. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search at ATL Prime Sports. All the way across the board, it'll pull it up. Please like our videos on Facebook. Retweet and like our tweets, like our Instagram posts, and of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just simply click the subscribe button once you search ATL Prime Sports. Again, that's at ATL Prime Sports. You can find myself on Twitter at JJGetYouOne. You can find our fabulous producer Wayne at RWY Jr. And of course, our host, who I'm filling in for tonight, Corder Todd, and Twitter at Corder Todd. That's for TC. Wayne, how you doing tonight? It's just you and me, boss.
Yeah, well, it's thunderstorms here, so I don't know. I'm waiting to see what's going to happen with the power. But apart from that, the Rangers are now at 500, and it looks like Atlanta has turned it around and is on a bit of a winning streak. So hopefully everybody's calmed down now.
Well, hopefully we'll get into that. I'm doing just fine. Hopefully those storms pass over. Folks, again, you can follow us at ATL Prime Sports. Tonight, what's on tap? You got headlines with myself talking about the AllStar Game out of Atlanta and the Braves' cool start, as Wayne just mentioned, and of course, much, much more right here on ATL Prime Sports. Before we get into those headlines, I do want to say, guys, please remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel at ATL Prime Sports. Let's start off with the headlines. Nike and Beats by Dre has suspended their sponsorship of quarterback Deshaun Watson. Over the past month, 22 women have come forward claiming inappropriate behavior and sexual assault against the Texans quarterback, as we know. The number has grown over the past week. Nike and, again, Beats by Dre has now suspended its sponsorship for him, the athlete. Look, I wouldn't have done this. I would have let the dust settle down before making a decision like this one. Innocent until proven guilty. You stood by the quarterback before this to give him that sponsorship. Why not stand by him until the claims are proven truthful or until he's proven innocent? And then, this was just nothing. So I think it was a quick jump to the gun to spend sponsorships. But, hey, a company has to do what a company has to do. Wayne, your thoughts on that headline?
Well, I can't speak for those companies and what they want to do. At this point, I guess they're just trying to cover their collective hindsight. And this seems like the easiest thing for them to do is just to disassociate. As far as Deshaun Watson go, I want to tell you honestly, I am not really invested too much in the Houston Texans football team. So it's easy for me to stand back and just see how things play out. If they were my team, I think it would be more of an important issue to me.
Yeah, it'd be tough if this was your football team. Maybe we'll have Debbie the Texan come back on and talk about what the turmoil is like being a Houston Texans fan, waiting to hear the results of this Deshaun Watson saga, as I'm calling it. But again, I'm just going to leave it
Yeah,
as
although you and I kind of went through something similar to this when the quarterback Michael Vick was with Atlanta. Not necessarily the same type issues, but still legal stuff, and it cost him a lot, but he was able to come back. And I know we got through that all right. So I'm sure the Texans fans will get through it all right.
Yeah, they'll find something. I mean, the football team will still be there, and they'll still have a quarterback whether Deshaun's there or not in the fall. Next headline, we'll move on. San Diego Padres star shortstop Fernando Tatis Jr. on the injured list. The shortstop has been placed on the 10-day injured list with a shoulder partial dislocation of the joint, which is considered a shoulder subluxation. He injured the shoulder Monday night swinging, missed the ball, overswung. Looks like he may have partially dislocated at the joint there. The injury is thought to be non-surgical, and the Padres hope to have him back in 10 days. Manager A.J. Preller said in an ESPN.com article that Tatis Jr. has full range of motion and wanted to play in Tuesday's game. Obviously, they did not play him. Wayne, your thoughts on the one of the bigger stars in baseball right now on the 10-day IL, possibly facing more if that injury is a little bit more. Do you have any quick thoughts on that or no?
Well, the only thoughts I really have on it would be in relation to whatever their minor league team is out there. I don't know what their process is for bringing somebody back off the DL, but I know St. Louis, uh, the Memphis Redbirds are the feeder team for St. Louis, and whenever a player gets hurt in St. Louis, they usually play a few games with the Redbirds before they go back into playing, up in St. Louis. And as strange as it may seem, it was always a little more exciting when we get to see a major league player, coming off of the DL, playing in the home park before heading back up there. So uh, it's the only benefit I can think of it is whoever their minor league team is might get to see him play if that's their process. I don't know if that's necessarily how they work.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the affiliates is the Friars.
All right.
So look out. Maybe you'll see some pros getting warmed up, ready to take Todd Corder's spot. And again, we cannot not talk about the 85th Masters, a tradition unlike any other. It's back for the second time in about a handful of months. It's glad to see the spring tradition is back in play this year. It's normal viewing time frame. The course is going to play completely different. I actually like a veteran. Veteran meaning someone that's won this tournament in the past to win this weekend. I think playing the course 2 times, I know it's going to play completely different from November to now, but I do think playing the course 2 times in a handful of months will bode well to a golfer like who I'm picking, the lefty, Phil Mickelson. Why? Because I think he's a veteran. He'll be able to remember the course a lot better, a lot easier, not having played so many events. So the Masters is back this weekend. You have a favorite, or are you watching somebody this weekend?
I tell you what, I should have called my mother and talked to her about this before this show because she follows golf a lot closer and knows the players and knows the situations more than I do. She has some longtime favorites and she has some favorites that she likes now, but I don't want to say anything before talking to her. So when we do Friday's show on the with Mark Mancini, I will be more prepared. And Mom, if you're listening, I expect a call from me so you can fill my head with some golf knowledge.
I like it. I like it. We'll get back to it. We'll get back. Enjoy the Masters. Let's kick this show off, get into the meat of the show. Let's talk about the Atlanta Braves. They were off to a 2-4 start. Started off 0-4. Should Atlanta fans be worried? Wayne, I'll start this one off and say no. It's easy to me. No, they shouldn't. Sure, they started off 0-4 until Wednesday's doubleheader, which they won 2 games out of both games of that doubleheader. They'll be just fine. Here's why. They didn't bode well in the first 4 games. Heck, even in the games today, Wednesday, as we're filming this, even the doubleheader Wednesday, they went a combined 3 for 16 in the last 2 games from the Phillies. The first inning, and through the rest of the game in Game 1, they were 3 for 16 in the last 3-4 games with runners in scoring position. So if they just get that average up, maybe get 5-6 hits out of those 16, increase that average just a couple points, I think the Braves will be just fine. So they got to get balls in play when runners are in scoring position. Again, they were 0 for 8 in the last 2 games against Philadelphia and going into the first game against Washington on Tuesday. So you can't have those types of slumps. You got to be able to get runs in when they're out there on the pond, especially second and third base with 1 or less than 2 outs. You obviously have to get that better, or else you're not, or else you will worry. If that number doesn't increase, yeah, Braves fans, you should worry. But I'm not worried about it. I think it's early in the season. We saw Acuna Jr. have a great doubleheader Wednesday. We saw the first game. He had 3 hits. And obviously he had another leadoff homer in this series against the Washington Nationals. So I wouldn't worry just yet. They're 2-4. They got a little winning streak down. Yeah. They'll come home and they play the Phillies again starting Friday. April 9th, their home opener. So I wouldn't worry just yet. Wayne, any quick thoughts on Atlanta?
If they start to slip again, would you expect any changes in the batting lineup 2-3 or 5-6?
You may see Pablo Sandoval
Okay.
come in and play for Austin Riley in that situation. I'm glad you said that because Austin Riley is not putting the ball in play. Pablo Sandoval has had 2 pinch hit, 2-run homers this year. Both of them super clutch. The one Wednesday won the game 2-0 for him in the 7th inning. So it's a big, big, big change in the lineup if Pablo Sandoval is there. He can still play the hot corner. You don't know if he's going to play defensively as well as Austin Riley, but right now you do have to say there could be that change in the lineup. Ender Inciarte also had a hit in the doubleheader when the game in game 1 he started. He had a double, so you like to see Ender maybe be the veteran and come in and relieve Pache every now and then. As Pache is learning this game, the speed of it, and how to accumulate to the big leagues. Ender is a great Gold Glover there, so you may see some flip flops at the 7, 8 positions.
Okay.
I don't think the heart of the lineup 2, 3, 4, or 5 is going to change much. I think you'll see D'Arnaud, Freeman, Albies, and Ozuna there for pretty much the entirety of the season. And I think you'll see Acuna at the top. So at the top, no. But answer your question, yes, at the bottom of the lineup, look for Pablo Sandoval to come in for Riley or possibly Ender Inciarte for Christian Pache if Pache does not get the bat on line. So, yeah, it was a great point, Wayne. What else you got?
Well, you were talking about should Atlanta fans worry about their slow start, and I compare that to my team, the Texas Rangers, and I think we started worrying sometime around August of last year. So right now, 2 wins in a row for us against Toronto, and then I think our next game is a Padres. So we'll see what happens from here. But right now we're at 500, and that's good enough for me right now.
Hey, as a fan, and Texas Rangers are at 100% capacity,
Right.
38,000. 38,000 got to see Globe Life Field, a magnificent ballpark. We talked about that already. Fans go out there and see it. I love to see the full stadium. I love to see the players' reactions, to hear the boos, the cheers, the jeers, the reaction from the fans. That was great. I saw some clips from the game, and the players were interviewed afterwards and said, "Man, you really do take some of this
Yeah.
stuff for granted." So
Yeah.
another good point, Wayne. Let's get Black Flip Flop back to the Braves here, and we will talk about some other issues with the Braves. Look, right now they're heavily reliant on the home run. They had 4 home runs in a loss. Game 1 against the Nationals, 4 solo shots. Look, you got to get 5 guys on base for those home runs, or else they're almost meaningless. There's so many home runs in baseball. You got to string together 3 or 4 hits, then get that bases clearing RBI, whether it's a triple, double, the home run ball. Get more runs by producing more. Acuna's doing a great job. He had 2 stolen bases in the doubleheader Wednesday. Get Acuna on, steal them over, manufacture runs. The Braves need to do more of that. And no, Braves fans, you do not need to worry. This team is set for success. As my friend Todd Corder, the host of this beautiful show, would say, look on the back of the baseball card. That will
Yeah.
tell the tale. And they're
Right.
going to be just fine. They're going to be just fine.
Yeah. I remember sitting in a lunchroom, everybody pulling out baseball cards and start comparing stats and arguing. So that's still in play, I guess.
Absolutely. So again, Braves fans, simmer down on the worries. Remember, they'll get some people back. They'll get Soroka possibly at the end of the month. And I'm glad we mentioned him because he did. Bad news for the Braves on Wednesday. Soroka was shut down for 2 weeks. Nothing to do with the Achilles, some shoulder tightness. Hopefully it's nothing big, but that could implement maybe Oscar Inoa, who pitched fabulously in the second game of the doubleheader on Wednesday. Pitched 5 zero run innings. Only gave up 1 or 2 hits, 1 or 2 walks. Inoa looked very impressive in the bullpen game. And if that's the case, give him that 5th-day starter if he's going to come out there and pitch like that. So Braves fans, don't worry, pump the brakes. Remember, Soroka expected back. Hopefully the shoulder is nothing. It's just precaution. Hopefully back maybe early May, late April, mid-May at the latest is what I'm hearing. So hopefully help is on the way. But I think the Braves, the bats will wake up. They're good and sound defensive club, which will really help prevent runs. And they'll get on track with their pitchers. Fried hasn't quite gotten into midseason form yet. Give Fried and Ian Anderson some time to catch up. And I think the Braves fans will be just fine. Wayne, you want to go ahead and move on to this topic, or any final thoughts on the Braves real quick?
Nope, no more on that. I guess we need to talk about this elephant.
Yeah, we do, folks. Normally, as you know, if you follow ATL Prime Sports, we are not the political show. We like to stay away from that. But we are ATL Prime Sports, and the AllStar Game has been taken out of the great state of Georgia and has been moved to the state of Colorado. Denver, to be exact, in Coors Field. Wayne, I'll let you take the reins and go first on this one, man. What are your thoughts on the All-Star Game moving from Atlanta to Denver, Colorado?
Well, I would say the powers that be, and you can put that as to whoever you think that is, whether it's Major League Baseball or whether it's the current White House administration. They do not like Republican governors, and they prefer Democrat governors. And I think, and this is just me, guessing, that they took a big wheel and spun it around with all the Democrat governors and said, "Okay, here's where we're going to go," and it ended up Denver. So that's what I think happened. I think they were looking for any excuse to try to manipulate their way out of Georgia, and they just used this new integrity voting law as an excuse.
I'm going to take a deep breath, and I'm going to answer this one as carefully and as honestly as I possibly can. Here's my first thought: when politics and sports should not, in my opinion, do not mix. I do not mind a player standing for what he or she believes in, doing so before or after their game or match, but don't bring it between the lines. And to me, that's what Commissioner Rob Manfred did.
Yeah.
Manfred moved the game, a game that per FoxNews.com will cost the host county, a Democratic county, $100 million in lost revenue.
Right.
$100 million in lost revenue. That's my first thought.
I think it's more than that, because I think there's a lot of things they're not calculating in, but that's just me.
Yeah, no, and it could be more, it could be less. But you're right. It's right around that figure. It's a huge economic blow, and I'll comment on this, folks. Atlanta lost the Final Four last year. They lost a NASCAR race last year. They also lost the Masters at its normal time with fans. So Atlanta was hit, and the Georgia area and the sports community was hit extremely hard by COVID-19. This is something that we thought we could rebound. The NBA All-Star Game, again, did not turn out to be what it could have been if it was a normal circumstance. You could have had all the parties, all the after-hours parties, all the clubs, all the bars open, have all the gatherings. That was taken away from Atlanta because of COVID. Now you take away this game for a completely different set of circumstances. I think that's not fair, simply because one person, or like you said, the powers that be, suggested it and they moved and they suffer. The people of Atlanta who required that game for a paycheck suffer the most. My second thought, I'll continue on with this. Former Major League Baseball Commissioner Fay Vincent, who served from 1989 to 1992, slammed Rob Manfred's decision to move the game, saying in a Wall Street Journal open ed, and I quote, "Major League Baseball can't become a weapon in the cultural wars, a hostage for one political party or ideology." And I agree to that 110%. And that's exactly what they're doing. You mentioned it. They caved to one side of politics, not to the other. You got to be bipartisan. That's why I go back to say, part one, do not mix politics and sports. I don't think it mixes well. And basically at the end of Vincent's quote, he was basically agreeing with me and going back to the lines of point one, saying it's going to cost that community quite a few $1,000,000. Now, I'll take another breath and I'll say some comments and I'll go back to you, Wayne. A lot of mainstream media outlets will say this law limits voting. I disagree. I've looked at the laws. I've done a lot of research over the past couple of days. This law ensures absentee ballots have more clarity and keeps the drop boxes for those ballots available during voter hours so the election box can be monitored. It's an integrity tool. The name of the law is voting integrity. If this country can't move on forward with integrity, then we have a lot to lose. And that is a problem. If integrity is lost in everyday life, what else are we going to lose down the road, folks? What else are we going to lose? I think this is a voting integrity law. Sure, the runoff election times are reduced. That is true. But you know why? My father is an election official, and he worked his tail off for the entirety month of November, December, and January for runoff elections. He worked all of November. He worked earlier. He worked some of October for early voting. It basically reduces the amount of uneligible voters in the lines. It shortens lines. It increases the integrity of the election. And the drop boxes, you can still provide water. All you have to do is ask an election official. They will bring you water. I just think the integrity of this law is there. Whether you see it one side or another, that's what politics do. It is an opinion down the middle. So folks, do remember that. Again, the runoff election times are reduced, but here's why. It's because of ballot duplication. For provisional ballots and other purposes places a heavy burden on election officials. The number of duplicate ballots have continued to rise dramatically from 2016 to 2020. Reducing the number of those ballots will significantly reduce the burden on election officials, creating a bipartisan panels as well to conduct these duplication votes and make sure that every vote gets counted correctly. Because another problem, people were showing up to the booth, and guess what, Wayne? They were getting counted. Your vote has already been processed by an absentee ballot. And they would say, hey, whoa, no, I didn't. I didn't vote by absentee ballot. I'm sitting here to vote. So that clears up a lot of that issues. Again, to me, this views as an integrity bill. It just keeps the laws and the election integrity honest. And then it increases the amount of military choice voting for military and overseas voters. So again, you can reduce the runoff election from, I believe it was 9 weeks to now it's 5 weeks or 4 weeks. And that gets these election officials back home with their families for a little bit more time. And again, most of the time, runoff elections don't happen. So this is a moot point if there is no runoff election. And last, and my final point on this, Wayne, and I'll let you get back to it. Colorado Voter Rule 2.3 for Colorado Secretary of State reads as this: when processing a new voter registration application, the county clerk must mark the registration record as ID required unless the elector provides his or her verifiable driver's license number or state identification number, or the elector is otherwise exempt under law. The way I read that, it sounds like to me, you must have a voter ID or a driver's ID to vote in the state of Colorado. That's basically what the state of Georgia is asking you to do. I think this is all integrity. Remember, folks, this is not a political show. I just would love the AllStar Game to be in Atlanta so it can benefit the city and its inhabitants, because the city was struggled so much during COVID and we lost so much from COVID. This could help recuperate some of that loss. I think the voting laws in most states require you show an ID, and I think it just continues to keep the integrity of elections just like that, the integrity of elections. Wayne, your thoughts on this?
Well, I'm going to compare it to something that I know more about. An election, in my mind, is more or less a contest between two people who are running for an office. And also, any sports, any game, car race, whatever it is also a contest. to see who wins. And in a contest, if you make it harder to cheat and easier to participate, that's good. And I think the selection law makes it easier to participate and harder to cheat. And so to me, that's good.
I agreed. I went the long way. You went the short way. Folks, I think the long-term short here is I don't wish anybody or anything on any city like this because I was very much looking forward to this All-Star game. My wife and I were planning on buying tickets and going and enjoying all the festivities, the home run derby, and all the games and the extracurricular activities that go on at the fan fests, everything. I was very much looking forward to it. It was taken away from our city, and now I won't have that opportunity because I will not be able to afford the flight to Denver, Colorado, and the All-Star tickets. So, folks, again, it's all perspective, how you look at it. Wayne and I both feel that it's an integrity law, and it's meant to keep the integrity of elections alive.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that home run derby, since they're going to be up there at Coors Field, that's going to be some kind of home run derby, I think.
Yeah, they had one there, I want to say 1999, right around the turn of the century. I think they had it at Coors Field, and Larry Walker was there, and I believe that's the one where Larry Walker turned his helmet backwards and went up there, had a little fun in the All-Star game. I think that may have been in Coors
So
Field. I'm not 100%, folks. I'm not 100%.
It's easier to hit those. It's easier to hit those homers way out there and up in that field, elevation wise, and that field too.
Yeah. So, folks, again, let's go back. Let's wrap things up in the show with our last topic, lighthearted. March doubled up on the madness this year after no NCAA tournament last year. What were your favorite one shining moments?
And this is going to be a long one shining moment, but I was really impressed with how Syracuse did and surprised everybody. I know their road came to a end shorter than the Final Four, but I really enjoyed watching a team play zone defense and do it as best as it can be done. Houston just kind of picked it apart. So
yeah, it was fun to watch all the madness from Oral Roberts going to the Sweet 16, another 15 seed like Florida Gulf Coast making it, or Abilene Christian upsetting the in-state rival in that sense, Texas. Yeah. You had Drake, who made a decent run into the tournament, won their conference, and won the play game. UCLA, obviously, one of the best games I've ever seen in my life. UCLA versus Gonzaga.
Heartbreaking Elite Eight game. I want to tell you.
Heartbreaking game. And then, I got to go with one of my favorite memories. Yeah. I won the bracket challenge. I called the national championship, and I admit it, Wayne. The first time I saw Jared Butler, Thamba, Coach Scott Drew, all those guards, they're the best team. I saw them play West Virginia 2 times, and I said, that is the best team. They're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster, and they proved it against Gonzaga. Gonzaga was no match. This game was over, 9-0. They were up by 19, and they were on overdrive the rest of the game. And that, honestly, is one of my favorite memories of the tournament because I can't tell you I've gotten the national champion correct, but I missed the opponent.
Right.
I don't know in my bracket life if I've ever picked the national champion game correctly and the winner. Both teams and the winner correctly. Don't know if I've ever done it. So that was a good memory. And got to pick up Sister Jean. Sister Jean and the Ramblers again. 2 wins, one against in-state Georgia Tech and the Ramblin' Wreck here. They didn't really upset Georgia Tech. A lot of people picked Sister Jean and the Ramblers to win that game. They did, but then they upset everybody and busted everybody's bracket, beating Illinois, and that was a great memory. Wayne, what are some others for you? I've been blabbling.
Well, one of the things that I kind of noticed about Gonzaga, and I'm gonna put this in a broader sense. When a team goes undefeated the entire year and goes to the championship game undefeated, I feel like they've never had a taste of defeat. and they're not familiar with what it feels like when that's fixing to happen. And Baylor lost to Kansas and they lost to Oklahoma. And so when during the course of that championship game, when Gonzaga had gotten it back to within 9 during the second half, I think Baylor started to wake up a little bit and go, whoa, wait a minute. I know this feeling. We're fixing. We're getting a little off track, and they could right it. But Gonzaga never having been defeated in a long time. Last year I don't know what their streak was, but they I just don't think they were aware of the fact that they were getting beat, and they really didn't know how to handle it. They seemed a little lost, and Baylor seemed way more organized.
Well, you mentioned it. Gonzaga was a heavy favorite in most of their games this season. They breezed through the first 3 or 4 rounds of the tournament. I think I tweeted it out on one of they won by like 96 points or so, a combined 96 points in the first couple rounds. And look, they're great. They're not a bad basketball program.
In their
you and I have
conference,
talked about this.
They absolutely dominate that conference.
Exactly. Let's break down some of the teams they're playing week in and week out. Portland, who went over in conference play. San Diego, 2-7. San Francisco, 4-9 in conference, 11-14 overall. Portland, the last place team, is 6-15 overall. Pacific, 9-9. Pepperdine, 15-12. Loyola Marymount's 13-9. BYU's the only other good team in that conference, and they beat them 3 times, or 2 or 3 times in the season. I think it was 3.
Yeah.
And that doesn't prepare you for a moment like this. Sure, at the early part of the season, they played some big boys and won. Absolutely. But here's the deal. When it gets late in the season and you're beating everybody by 15, 20 points, it really does make a difference. Here's the stat, folks. Mark Few at Gonzaga, 0-8 versus number 1 seeded teams.
Yeah.
0-8 in the tournament. That goes to show you something. When you get up against that big-time Power 5, big-time conference, that's top to bottom stacked.
Yeah.
Houston in the AAC, Memphis won the NIT. You could go on in the AAC. In the Sun Belt, you got a couple teams that year in and year out, besides Georgia State, make a run or make an attempt at a tournament. They don't necessarily win the game. But you see one team from that conference and maybe BYU get in each and every year, and it's a dominant performance. Todd likes to mention they're not a mid-major, and I know he's not here to defend himself here, but this is one of those moments that I say, prove me wrong. And it's very hard to go undefeated. Kentucky did the same thing a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'll see an undefeated basketball team in the men's realm of things, maybe in the women's again.
Yeah.
The women's even getting more competitive. I just think it's too competitive at the Division I level for a team to go 32 or 36, 34, whatever it is, and then go undefeated. And Wayne, I'll go back to you.
Well, a year, I don't know how long ago it was, but Memphis used to play Gonzaga in the out of conference games early in the year. And I believe we may have beat them a few times. And that was back when Calipari was the coach here. And, I think comparing the conference Memphis is in to that conference it's pretty, maybe the AAC has gotten a little bit better than it was back then.
Certainly at the top.
Right. But when Memphis was in the Conference USA, they used to dominate that conference. And when they were in the Metro Conference, they used to dominate that conference. And then we'd get into the tournament and we'd struggle because we'd been, playing in a mid-major conference. So I kind of know what it feels like to be a Gonzaga fan and feel like you're not getting as much credit for how well your team plays when they really, really do play well. I mean, you could sit there and watch them, especially on offense, but a team like Baylor is able to pick it apart. I mean, how many steals and points off turnovers were there for Baylor? A lot.
I'll pull it up for you right now. Let's go find out and get the box score. Box score. You were right. There was quite a few turnovers for each team. Let's go 14 for Gonzaga. 14 turnovers.
And up until that point, I don't think they had turned the ball over that much.
Man, that was just complete domination. I mean, Baylor just got out and started running. They hit an unbelievable – it seems like they didn't miss. I think as a team, let's see, what did they shoot? I'm going to go and double check it. As a team, they shot 43.5%.
They did even
like
better.
a night. So that's pretty tough to defend when they're all just going in.
Yeah, I think they may have done even better against Houston because they really wore Houston out. But Houston may have been out of steam too.
Yeah, and Teague, Mitchell, Butler, Thamba, Vital, even the bench, Mayer, everybody played their role. Flagler had 13 points off the bench for Baylor. It's amazing how well this team. You had 3 starters in double digits, 2 nearly with 20. This team was great. It was a great mark. It was so much madness. The buzzer beaters, the sister jeans, the new stories like Georgia Tech finally getting into the tournament after a 5-year drought. Coach Pastner says, give me 5 years. He got him there on the 5th year. So many good stories in this tournament. And my final thought is I'm glad the tournament's back.
Yeah.
Hopefully next year it's even better.
Yeah.
What are your final thoughts on the tournament?
Well, I've got my tickets and I'm ready for next season. I've already secured my seats and everything, and I've actually got 4 seats up there. So if there's any chance that you and Todd end up being able to come to Memphis, we got a place to sit up there and watch the game. And speaking of games, do you know who the Atlanta Hawks play tonight or are playing right now?
Well, it's a battle of the cities. It's Atlanta versus Memphis.
Yep.
I'm watching it as we speak, and
it's pretty close.
Let's see what's going on. It's a close game as we speak. In the first half here, Atlanta's up by 4.
Yeah. So it's those NBA games can be just as exciting. I haven't followed it as much as I used to, but I just thought it was interesting that Atlanta was playing Memphis tonight.
Absolutely, yeah. It's Atlanta's playing pretty good basketball. Won 4 straight. Trae Young looking like a true scorer, and John Collins acquired Lou Williams, and they're playing good ball. Looks like they could end up getting a playoff berth. And hey, you're building on something, Travis Schlink. And I, as a Hawks fan, I'm excited about a playoff berth. I don't care who you are. As I keep getting these ads here.
Yeah, I know how the browser works.
But yeah, folks, going back to the Hawks, playing good basketball at the right time, coming down a final stretch of the season where seeding is going to be a big factor for the Atlanta Hawks. You don't want to get in that play-in tournament. You want to be above that line. So it'll be fun to watch. Wayne, any final thoughts on tonight's show? That's about it.
Oh, I think we've covered everything we need to, and I look forward to our show on Friday with Mark Mancini. Phone number is on that show. It's a live show. You can dial in and listen to it at 347-205-9631 or go to blogtalkradio.com/Mancini Sports and listen to it that way. And as always, I will produce the show for YouTube, and you can watch that too. Like and subscribe. There's a little dog down there in the corner. You click on that and it'll lead you right to be able to subscribe.
Absolutely. My final thought for tonight's show, folks, we are under 150 days until college football season kicks off. Get you one, ladies and gentlemen. For Todd Corder, for Wayne in Memphis, I'm JJ in East Atlanta. So long. We'll see you Friday. blogtalkradio.com/Mancini Sports from 1 to 1:30. We'll be talking more Braves, and we'll talk more about the NFL and what the Atlanta Falcons do at that number 4 spot. Again, folks, I want to say thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe to the video if you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. Get you one.